Hello, I'm Mary Kopczynski, the CEO of RegAlytics, and now I'm in Big Sky, Montana with my family enjoying the last skiing hurrah of the season. And if it seems like I've been traveling a lot, the principal of my kids' school would definitely agree with you. And speaking of school, the regulator of the week, again, is the U.S. Office of the President, and the topic of the week is higher education. Okay, so as someone who has a PhD, which stands for piled high and deep, as well as a JD, which stands for just as deep, I clearly have a lot of experience with education. More than most, but to be clear, always as a student, never as a professor or as an administrator. And I can say I am glad because, boy, are we in strange times. So, as mainstream media is reporting, there's been some nasty grams sent by the White House to a series of institutes of higher learning and most recently Harvard. Now, to put this in perspective, as I often do, please understand that alerts having to do with universities in the United States are generally prolific at the state level, at the federal level. But RegAlytics has picked up over 45,000 alerts on the topic in the last 5 years, right? And in the last 365 days, there have been 15,000. But when you realize that the last 90 days amount to over 7,000 of those, almost half of the entire year's worth, you can see that there is something going on. The last 30 days have been over 2,000 alerts, and just the last 7 days alone have been over 400. So this is a big topic and it is growing. So, to get you up to speed, and I like talking about just the facts, but on Friday, a 5 page letter went to Harvard from three federal agencies. One, the Government Services Administration, which is responsible for doling out cash from the government, and then the General Counsel of the Department of Education and the General Counsel of the Department of Health and Human Services. So, yes, the media is talking about the letter, and it contains things you imagine, like race blind admission, a focus on anti Semitism, and a total elimination of DEI. But I'm going to read a few of these sentences out loud so you really understand why this is a bit, let's just say, unusual. So, we're going to start with the tone. Quote, Harvard has in recent years failed to live up to both the intellectual and civil rights conditions that justify federal investment. We therefore present the below provisions as the basis for an agreement in principle that will maintain Harvard's financial relationship with the federal government. If acceptable to Harvard, this document will constitute a agreement in principle which the parties will work in good faith to translate into a more thorough binding settlement agreement. Very litigious language. It then lists 10 bullets that are about a paragraph each of what Harvard has to do. And again, let's hear it straight from the source. So by August of 2025, the university shall commission an external party to audit it entirely for viewpoint diversity. For every department or field found to lack viewpoint diversity must be reformed by hiring a critical mass of new faculty within that department or field who will provide viewpoint diversity. Another external auditor is to be hired to specifically review different departments for anti-Semitism. The programs, schools, and centers of concern include, but are not limited to, the Divinity School, the Graduate School of Education, School of Public Health, Medical School, Religion and Public Life Program, the FXB Center for Health and Human Rights, the Center for Middle Eastern Studies, the Carr Center for Human Rights, Department of Near Eastern Languages and Cultures, and the Harvard Law School International Human Rights Clinic. Okay? And then finally, the university must immediately shutter all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, offices, committees, positions, and initiatives under whatever name, and demonstrate to the satisfaction of the federal government that these reforms are durable and effective through structural and personnel changes. In response, Harvard wrote back a 1.5-page response through 2 law firms who will undoubtedly now be targeted by the Trump administration. And it simply says, "Hi, thanks. We actually did a review of our anti-Semitism policy and implemented reforms. Thank you very much. Also, these requests are actually illegal. Thanks, bye." Okay, so I did paraphrase there, but seriously, I am quoting now, okay? "It is unfortunate that your letter disregards Harvard's efforts and instead presents demands that, in contravention of the First Amendment, invade university freedoms long recognized by the Supreme Court. The government's terms also circumvent Harvard's statutory rights by requiring unsupportive and disruptive remedies for alleged harms that the government has not proven through a mandatory process established by Congress and required by law." So basically it said, it's all well and good, but a random demand letter is not the right way to go about this. I will again leave it to all of you to draw your own conclusions, but I will say that there are laws, lots of laws, and court cases about the idea of freedom and freedom of speech and freedom to congregate and the idea of due process. You can't just be thrown in jail or have your government seize your home or property without some sort of a process. And even if you hate Harvard, its policies, or anything about it, I would be worried if it started being the trend that our government could take things from us without asking or giving warning. And imagine if this started happening at the corporate level, right? So that's it this week for RegAlytics. We have the global supply chain of the world's regulatory alerts in one very easy to use place. If you need a solution related to anything with regulation, give us a call.